All right. So thank you so much again for taking the time to listen to how we, the Gina Ront team, help our buyers experience the most incredible home purchasing. And um, in order for us to continue, we need to go ahead and take the next step and agree to officially and formally work with each other. And as I mentioned with the information about broker services and agency and fiduciary, and I mentioned that if I do not have a representation agreement signed with you, that I am a sub agent of the listing agent and work for the seller. So that would not be in your best interest because you obviously want someone looking out for you. So the buyer's rep agreement, and we'll go into what this all means, is exactly that. It states that I am 100% exclusively working for you and my fiduciary is to you. All right. Now, I do want to preface a lot of people will get, I don't know if I want to commit, da 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 da. I'm trusting that after hearing about all that we do, you know that we are going to do a great job. Yes. Yes. And based on my track record, that I know what I'm doing, right? Awesome. So now people are people, personalities are personalities, expectations sometimes maybe aren't conveyed the way they should be. So this agreement is just a date. We're a dating agreement. It's not a marriage license. It's a dating agreement. So if at any point you do not feel like I'm giving you the service that you expected to get, or what isn't going in the direction that you intended it to go, you can fire me. And that's totally cool. It's actually never happened, but it's totally cool. And same with you. If I feel like, we're just not communicating right, or I just can't pick up what it is you need, or I don't feel like I'm making this the best experience for you, I will bow out and I will ask you to break up. So either way, we're going to be dating. I trust it's going to be a beautiful relationship. And that's that. So are we good? And I'll go ahead and go over what the buyer's rep entails. Awesome. Okay. So, and a lot of this will be some promulgated legal stuff, and you certainly can read all of it. I'm going to hit the highlights. So, of course, the parties, I'm going to, have both of your names filled in here. And then Keller Williams is my brokerage, as I mentioned. So this is just all of my contact information. And this document actually has to accompany any offers that we make. So we want to make sure that we have this, along with the financing and all that already all arranged. Okay, and then we go into definitions. So acquire means to purchase, and you'll hear that and read that when you read through here. Closing is after the property, you make an offer, negotiate, close. And then that's when commissions, et cetera, come into play. Market area. So I do fill in Central Texas here because Austin, is not just Austin. It's all these other little cities. So if we happen to go outside of Austin, this just protects that we are indicating that we're in all of Central Texas. So term, we're going to start today. And then I typically like to keep this at 3 months. If we haven't found you a house in 3 months, then we're in trouble, right? So we'll go ahead and put in 3 months here. And then it breaks down the broker obligations again with the fiduciary client obligation, and really the only obligation you have is to exclusively work with me. So representations, again, just more promulgated language. If there is any relocation company, we would indicate them here because typically they do receive a referral. So we'd want to make sure that we acknowledge that, are you working with any relocation companies or any kind of employer benefit for the move? Okay. And then next we go into intermediary, which we loosely talked about this in the information about broker services I shared. And all this really states is that you are willing to visit and or potentially purchase a listing that is listed with my brokerage, which is Keller Williams. And of course, there's lots of Keller Williams teams, like we talked about earlier, in Austin, and agents that have listings. So we definitely don't want to exclude any Keller Williams listings, nor do we want to exclude the Gina Ront team listings because there's a chance that that might be your next home. So competing clients, this does acknowledge that I do work with other buyers. And if I have another buyer that might be interested in the same kind of property that you might be interested in, I would still show that buyer and you acknowledge that I don't, obviously if you have an offer or you're showing interest in a property, I'm not going to show it if we've written an offer. But until that happens, just knowing that I have a fiduciary to them as well to show any listings. Now, if at any point we're getting close to like, oh, I think this might be the one, then I would, bow out of that relationship and assign that to somebody else on the team. So confidential information during this agreement and after this agreement, I will not disclose any information that I obtained from you in confidence with, exception of anything that you authorize me to share. And then it also mentions that the seller, however, and the listing agent, they are not obliged to keep any of this information private other than, legal things. But so if they get an offer, we write an offer on one of their listings, they are allowed to share that if they want to share that with other offers. And that states here, if listing agent receives multiple offers, the listing agent is obliged to treat the competing buyers fairly. So if they tell what you're offering, then they have to tell us what the others are offering as well. So fees, commission. So the parties agree that the broker will receive a commission calculated at X. I charge 3% for helping my buyers. And my goal to earn that 3% is to find you the best house, get you the best price, and the time frame that works for you. So my proactive approach to finding listings both on and off the market, my ability to negotiate terms, and my track record of success, it warrants that 3%. I'm sure you would agree. So that is paid by either the seller will pay the full compensation, the seller may cover part of the compensation, or the seller may pay none of the compensation. And this language here states that whatever the seller or broker for the seller doesn't pay in commissions, then you will pay the difference. Now, I know that sounds a little off. You will know ahead of time if there are any properties that we're looking at that aren't, that the full compensation isn't covered. And, we'll take that on a case-by-case basis. I'm not ever going to let commission be the reason why we don't find you the best house at the best price in the right time frame. I just request that you stay open-minded about that, and that we're in agreement that we work towards a win-win situation. Sound fair? Great. So earned and payable, obviously that's after it's closed. Additional compensation, that just talks about if there's, if we happen to be, like if a seller is paying a bonus commission outside of what we agreed to here on the 3%, that you are not obligated to pay any of that if they decide not to. Or if we are with new home construction, and often they will pay bonuses or, pay incentives. And if they don't do it, that is not something that falls on me expecting you to pay that. Acquisition of brokers listings. All this means is that if you do happen to purchase a Gina Rott team listing or a Keller Williams listing, that has nothing to do with the commission that they have already negotiated on their listing agreement. So that is completely separate from what is happening with the broker, the buyer broker, and you, the buyer. And if for some reason, in addition to the commission, if this comes up, if I have, somebody building a new custom home and I connect them with the builder, then we often will, again, work towards a win-win situation where I get compensated for putting that relationship together. And then service providers, this is if we have anybody that, does pay any kind of fee or referral back to our brokerage, and we have forms that break that down. So if there's a moving company that sponsors lunch or something like that, it's just stating that we are obligated to share that, and that is not something that is shared with the client. Protection period. So we have our 3 months that we're going to be working together, and I'm trusting well before that we'll have found your home and you'll be moved in and having me over for a glass of wine. But the protection period states that after that term is up, if we decide not to renew and we hadn't already found you that home, that I'm still going to be representing you on any property that I showed you during that time. Okay, so then going into more legal stuff, fun stuff. So mediation, we all agree to negotiate in good faith and mediate if we run into any troubles, have any disputes. Default, if either party fails to comply with this agreement or make false representation, the non-complying party is in default, which means they would be responsible for attorney fees, etc. And then, of course, limitation of liability. If someone gets injured, if I'm, taking a client out and there's personal injury or any kind of loss that is not directly caused by me, that there's liability limits on that and protection for the broker. Addenda attached to the agreement. So the information about broker services, which we discussed. And here's all the additional notices. I'll let you read these about, fair housing. This is a big one. Brokers' fees and sharing of fees between brokers are not fixed. So like I said, that 3% that I charge, that is what myself and my team, we charge for the level of experience that we have and the customer service that we're going to be giving. But again, it is not fixed. We are not inspectors, surveyors, engineers. So I will convey the information that is, in the MLS. I will convey what information is public information, and any information I find out once I have this agreement signed, I can share that. And then client purchases property, having a title policy. We, in Texas, all of our closings go through the title company. So you will have a title policy breaking down all of, making sure there's no encroachments, etc. You have the opportunity to purchase a residential service contract, which is like a home warranty. And one thing to note is that when you're previewing properties or visiting properties, there is a potential that you could be monitored without your consent. So be careful what you say, and know that we cannot be recording inside of other people's homes either, unless we have permission. And lastly, a big one, to reduce risk of wire fraud, any information that you get from us will come through secure email platform, different secure platforms. So we will never change wiring instructions by email or even call you. I mean, all of these go through these different platforms. So be very aware before wiring money, and always call by finding the number first from a third party. So not from any of the information, like not from any of the emails or anything like that. Find the number, call them, and make sure that that's actually who the wire is going to. Again, all sounds so scary, but I need to point it out. And lastly, we are not lawyers, so I cannot give legal advice. This agreement is binding. So if there's any part of this that you do not understand, definitely encourage you to consult an attorney before signing it, but it's pretty straightforward. So if you don't have any questions, let's just go ahead and do the initials. Thank you very much.